This is Rio Pacino with Sports Gamer Show, and I'm here with Ramone Russell, lead designer of MLB 13, The Show. How's it going, Ramone?
Pretty good.
Now, we're just a day away from the release of MLB 13, The Show, as of this recording. And one of the first things I wanted to talk about is Road to the Show and franchise modes. Although I enjoyed the past few iterations of the show, I always felt like Road to the Show and franchise were in need of an overhaul. What changes will we see this time around in MLB 13, The Show, with Road to the Show and franchise?
Right, so I think you'll be happy this year because those were two of the modes that we put most of our developmental resources in this year. For franchise mode, there were a couple of core systems that we really wanted to start from scratch on to make them better instead of just doing like simple tweaks and whatnot. And for franchise, it starts with budgets. You could never really take, in any previous MLB The Show game, take a small market team and turn them into a powerhouse, like what's happened with the Giants and the Washington Nationals and the Texas Rangers over the last 5 or 6 years. You just couldn't do that in a video game. So what we did was we ripped out our old budget system completely and we rewrote it from scratch. And the way that we did it is we looked at real MLB data, about 50 years worth, and we came up with this risk penalty system based on your on-field performance. So if you can get your team over 500 at the end of the year, your budget will increase. If you can make the playoffs, you'll get more money. If you go deeper in the playoffs, you'll get even more money. And if you can do that over sustained years, you'll see, your budget go from like 30 to 40 million up to the 60s, and if you're really, really good, up to the 100 millions. And that way you can start to have that payroll like the Giants or the Yankees have right now. And that's what really makes franchise cool this year, is that if you can take the Padres or the Pirates, and if you can start to get a couple of seasons where you're over 500, you can really turn those teams and franchises around. That's the biggest thing, the franchise mode. The next thing in franchise mode was basically a two-part system this year. Was we wanted to look at player development, and we basically started from scratch in every aspect of player development, and that goes from the player personnel draft to player progression to the way that you scout players. All three of those avenues we basically ripped out and started from scratch. And it starts with player progression, the guys who are already on your team. Now when you train a guy, you can see exactly what you're training him and how well he's doing. What we've also done is we've looked at teams and we've looked at players and we said, okay, so guys normally peak around 30 to 31. But what we saw last year was you would never see phenoms, where you would draft a guy and in year 2 he'd be up in the majors and he'd be really, really high rated, the Mike Trouts, the Steven Strasburgs of the world. So this year we rewrote our player progression system so that happens now. Every draft, there will be anywhere from 1 to 3 players max who could have the potential to be a phenom. You didn't see that in previous franchise modes in MLB The Show, but we have that this year. What we've also done is scouting. We ripped out scouting and started from scratch, and we wanted to make scouting really, really important. It's like, kind of like a mini game. And we wanted to add this human element, which if you added, so you have your scouts, and some scouts are great, some scouts are slow, some are fast, and you send them out to these different regions to discover players and then to scout them. And that all culminates with the draft. You want to have really, really good drafts. You can have 1 or 2 good drafts. That can totally change your franchise around if you can afford to keep those guys. Right. And those are the big changes to franchise mode. And the really cool thing about it is franchise and Road to the Show share the same logic. So those this new budget system that's in place, that's in Road to the Show. So if you're a starting pitcher and you're getting 15, 16 wins, you're helping your team have more money that they can spend in the off season to try to keep the contender out there. You didn't see that last year. You got traded around all the time. For Road to the Show, the emphasis was on really, really bringing it back to the player that you're using and really focusing in on your player in baseball and trying to get this first-person type of experience. So the first thing you'll notice is the audio is completely different. We've taken our crowd audio, we've completely remastered it, so it doesn't sound like it would in a regular exhibition game. It's almost as if we took the microphone and we put it on the field of play. What we've also done is we've cut out most of the commentary unless they're commenting on your guy and something that you've done. Because when you're playing baseball, you don't hear the commentators. All you hear is the crowd and your teammates. And you hear your teammates this year. You also hear your first base coach, your third base coach telling you, to stop or to advance a base. And it really just changes the whole feel of Road to the Show this year.
One of the things I also wanted to mention in terms of Road to the Show was running in the game. In previous Road to the Shows, I would tend to just skip that and just handle hitting. What sort of improvements have you guys made to running in Road to the Show?
Right, so we got rid of the compass system, which people didn't really like, and we didn't really like it either because it was confusing. Now when you run the base paths, the controls are very simple. Up advances to a base, down sends you back to the previous base you were at. That should cut out on all the confusion and makes it really, really easy. What we've also done is the compass system has been replaced by a base running map, which will show you where your teammates are if there's guys in front of you, so you won't overrun them and end up getting thrown out or making a bad decision there. So those are the changes you'll see on the base pass for Road to the Show.
One of my Twitter followers actually mentioned the potential or possible addition of more RPG-like elements to Road to the Show. Is that something that you guys have thought about or thought about adding in future titles?
Of course. This is our first year for our Road to the Show revamp, and this is version 1. Next year will be version 2 and version 3, and we're going to continue to try to evolve the mode and continue to try to keep it and make it something really, really special.
Now, anyone who plays sports video games knows that the show has been, the top MLB sim in the marketplace for the past couple of years. But one of the few sore spots with the series, in my opinion, has always been online, specifically lag in one-on-one matchups. Have you guys done anything this year to improve online performance?
Yes, so we're at the point now to where we've done basically everything we can from a development studio and development standpoint to improve the performance. But MLB The Show is a peer-to-peer connection. There aren't any so-called servers. The only servers that exist are those that connect you to your opponent. After that, it's 100% based on the connection you have to your guy because it's peer-to-peer. What we have done this year is we included a ping indicator so you can see how strong of a connection that you'll have with this potential opponent. Where in last years, you kind of went into it blind, and if a guy was on wireless or he was downloading a bunch of movies or something, you had a bad experience and you didn't know why. Now you'll see the type of connection and type of experience that you're probably going to have before you get into games. So we're giving users a couple more tools in that aspect to make sure that they can match up with the best possible connection.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to try out. It's, like I said, one of the few frustrating things in terms of playing the game was playing online. It's something that everybody wants to try out, but when you get connected with somebody who has, like you said, a terrible connection, it makes it pretty difficult. So another thing I wanted to mention was, one of the things I always like to do with any sports game is recreate big playoff moments that happen in the real life sport. With past games, I would always, sim a season, ensure that the playoff seedings are accurate with the real life brackets. And then at that point, I can recreate the matchup. This year, you guys made it easier for me personally with the introduction of postseason mode. Tell me more about this mode and what it entails.
Right, so postseason mode was done out of the frame that, our society is very instant gratification based, and the only way you could get to the postseason was to go through season mode of franchise and play the 162 game season. Not everybody really wants to dump in that type of time investment. So that was the original reason why we created the mode, was that now you can jump in as soon as you get the game day one, and in 5 minutes you can set up the brackets any way you want. You can do all AL teams if you want and experience the postseason mode. What it also lets you do is experience our new postseason presentation package, where we've really made a focus this year to try to make the playoffs and big games in general really stand out from regular season games. So there's different music that you'll hear in the postseason. There's different OSDs. You'll see the player of the game presentation with the camera crew on the field, and hopefully you'll just get that sense of pageantry that is, playoff baseball in the major leagues.
Now, speaking of presentation, one of my followers on Facebook asked about commentary this year. Has anything been done this year to improve the commentary?
Well, this year we've added Steve Lyons. He's in the booth now. He's part of the booth. He replaced Dave Campbell, who's with us for quite a long time. So you'll hear Steve, and we have, I think, 4 more full recorded days of audio with Matt Vasgersian and Eric Karros.
Now, in terms of a specific achievements in game, whether it's Road to the Show or franchise, will commentary reflect that?
In Road to the Show, yes, it's very specific. The milestones that you reach, like your first home run or your first stolen base, you'll see specific OSDs and you'll see the commentators. They would definitely mention it this year.
Now, I wanted to address gameplay as well. Gameplay has pretty much been solid with the show, but gamers are always looking for new tweaks, with the new games that come out. Talk about some of the gameplay changes in MLB 13, the show.
Oh, there's quite a few. I guess bat on ball is always the most important thing in a baseball game, is that pitcher-batter interface. And the one thing we've done was last year we introduced true ball physics, where we ripped out our ball physics code, and the code that was rewritten was 1-to-1 real math with real energy on the ball. This year, it's ball physics, true ball physics 2.0, where we looked at, there were a couple of hit types that we didn't have. We didn't have enough flares, we didn't have enough bloopers, and we didn't have nearly enough hits down the foul lines. Those hits would always go foul. So we looked at the code there, found some things that weren't quite right, and corrected those. So now you'll see less ground rule doubles, you'll see more bloopers, more flares, and you'll now have those hits to where you'll just rip a ball right down the foul line and it'll stay fair. As far as the batters are concerned, we have a great relationship with the MLB and MLB.com, and we've introduced this new push-pull balanced attribute player spray chart tendency. And what that basically does is every player in the game is categorized as a hitter type. He's either balance, he's push, he's pull, or he's extreme push or extreme pull. And if a guy is extreme pull, he's going to pull majority of those balls to that field if he makes good contact. And the same thing for push hitters. And it really opens the game up, really gives the batters some more personality, and it really changes the way the game plays. So we hope people will like it.
Now I mentioned, recreating playoff moments. Another thing I like to do personally with the show is recreate real life in-season moments and matchups. With the show live, it seems like I'll be able to do that a lot easier. Talk about the show live and what gamers can look forward to with that mode.
So the show live is basically a way that you can play any real life MLB game with those players, those lineups, and those starting pitchers. And what's really cool is that you can really follow the season that way. If you're playing the third game in the series, and let's say Matt Kemp hit 2 home runs the game before, the commentators will make reference to it. And that's what really makes the mode really, really cool.
What if I were to backtrack and play a game like that was in April or May, and it's currently October? Will the commentary reflect that time, or
yes, it will.
How does that work?
Yep, it's all time stamped, so the dates will all be relevant to what's going on in the game that you're playing.
Another thing I wanted to bring up was beginner mode. Hardcore players will likely scoff at this mode, but why was the decision made to add beginner mode to MLB 13, the show?
Right, so every year, one of the harshest criticisms we've heard from the casual crowd, and which is pretty much the majority of people who play the game, is the game's very difficult. Most importantly, hitting is extremely difficult, and every year we've tried to do different things to make hitting more accessible. Unfortunately, we haven't really found that sweet spot yet, and so we figured that where we were failing is we just weren't going full bore enough. And that's kind of where beginner mode, the genesis of beginner mode came from, was the fact that we need to make a mode where everything's simplified and you just focus on improving on hitting or improving on pitching, and that's where the idea for the mode came from.
Now one thing I haven't heard about, you guys have done a generally good job of revealing new features with the game, whether it's through videos, blogs, etc. But one thing I haven't heard about is DLC. I know last year it was purchasing ballparks. Any DLC going to be offered this year, and if so, what sort of offering will you guys give to users?
No DLC this year. Nothing that hasn't already been offered in the past.
Okay. Now this seems to be the most common question among fans of the show, which is, what do you say to people who claim that the show has reached its peak or hit the wall? How do you answer that question?
Well, I say that just look at our feature set. Franchise mode received a lot of new features. We've redone budgets, we've redone player personnel decisions, we've redone the draft, we've redone player progression. If you look at Road to the Show, it's a completely different mode. And if you played it last year and you play it this year, you'll see it immediately. We added 2 brand new modes this year. We added the postseason mode, and we added the show live. Those fans who are fans of Diamond Dynasty, this year it's Diamond Dynasty 2.0, where we've totally changed the way the mode works. And basically, there's only a handful of areas of the game that didn't get touched. Almost every portion of the game received some type of programmer love or some type of revamp to continue to push the series forward.
Well, I look forward to playing the game. Thanks for the time, Ramone. For those who don't know yet, why don't you go ahead and let the listeners know when MLB 13 the show comes out, how much it costs, and what platform it'll be available on.
Sure. MLB 13 the show will be available tomorrow for the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita console.
Great, Ramone. Appreciate the time, and good luck with the game.
Thank you so much.